Okay guys, so apparently my number one first random review is missing, so I'm going to have to do it all over again. Unfortunately, you will not get to see the opening. I know that's fun, but it was in an envelope, and I opened the envelope, and in the envelope was a Ziploc, and in the Ziploc were 5 of these, and I will get to that in just a moment. So I have no idea why it did not appear on my camera. Everything else I've done today was there. The review just decided to excuse itself. So here it is. I'm going to start the whole thing all over because you have nothing and don't know what I'm talking about. Basically, I decided to start a random review feature for some of my videos. I had thought about doing it for every single video, and then I realized, no, the chances of that happening are pretty slim. Not because I don't want to, but because how many things can I possibly review? And when I get to what I'm reviewing, you'll understand a little bit better about that. I really wanted to do a random review for every single video. It's just, I don't think that's possible. I mean, I could shop my closet and I could pull out things that I have myself. There are these types of items that I used to sell in my shop in Kansas. But the problem is, I don't know if you can still get those. So if I reviewed it and you couldn't get it, I'm not sure there would be any point. I'd have to be able to research it, locate it, and find out if there is a purchasability to it so that others could actually enjoy the item if it turns out to be something good. Anyway, on that note, my very loose rules about random review is it has to be a sewing gadget or a notion or something that has been repurposed as a sewing notion. Think friction pin. It has to be somewhat easy to find, so you could locate it on Amazon, a hobby store, a sewing specific store, or Walmart, or a local shop preferably. And I really want it to be unusual but usable item. So it could be that, my unusual is your usual. If it's something I've never seen before and I'm reviewing it, it might be something that you use all the time, but it still falls in the random category. That's kind of the way I'm going to manage that. If I've just found it and I'm using it and I think it's great and it's where's it been all my life and you have had it forever, you kind of get what I'm saying there. And that's that. To start us off, I found a 5-piece automatic threading device, and that is how it is listed on Amazon. The thing is, it's not really a 5-piece item. It's 5 items that come as one. So, I mean, if we took this apart, maybe we could say it's 5 pieces. So we have this part right here that we push, and this little hook comes out, so there's 2. We have the main body, 3, and then this pops out, and I haven't figured out how to use this particular little threading piece right here. There's a hook, and then there's like a groove right there. So that's 4, and then we could say that the metal hook here is 5. So main body 1, push thing 2, this little thing 3. Oh, the hook 4, and then the little metal thing 5. But I don't think that was the intent. I think what they meant was you get 5 of these. That's what I think. It is advertised as being suitable for both the young and old, and both of those two words, young and old, were capitalized. And this is the exact wording of the listing on Amazon. Automatic needle threading device with a ring, easy and convenient to carry, mini, M-I-N-I, and fashion size, easy to use. A handy thread guide for all sewers, young and old. Help to solve the frustrating needle threading problem. Gift, good gift for your mother, elderly people, and stitching friends. Automatic needle threader is mini, M-I-N-I, and fashion size. It can help you to thread a needle, makes it much easier. Suitable for everyone who likes doing sewing and all sewers. Great gift for your mother and elderly people. Sizer, 68 by 20 millimeter, 2.68 by 0.79 inches. Material is ABS plastic metal. Automatic needle threading device, self-threading, hand needles. Easy use and carry, help to solve the frustrating needle threading problem. Fit for kids, young and old. Features, helps to solve the frustrating needle threading problem. Suitable for those people who have dim eyesight. I fall into that category. Automatic needle threading device with a ring, easy and convenient to carry. Mini and fashion size, easy to use. And then it just continues in that vein for about 4 more paragraphs. I'm not going to continue to read it. It goes over the size again, and then it tells you who it's good for, like several times. How to use. So you're supposed to check out the holes at one side. This end, I think they mean the end, has more than one. This is what they're talking about. Okay. Then you insert the needle into the hole. Well, if you put the needle in this hole right here, well, that's where the little hook comes out to grab the thread. See if I can get that to show up. Maybe if I hold it against some paper. Oh boy, there we go. So I don't think that I should put the needle into this one. I'm not real sure why there is a hole here. There's a hole in the yellow piece that lines up with the hole in the top green. And then there is another hole over here. So this is what I've been doing. It's awkward. It doesn't really work very well, but we're going to try it. I will put this paper here. Here is some thread. There is a needle. I'm going to tilt this down so that it might be easier. Okay, oh, sorry. Whoops. I'm still trying to figure out how to use the new Canon. I haven't had time, and it's very frustrating, but we'll get it sorted out. Okay, so what I've been doing is putting the eye of the needle into this hole on the opposite side of the pushy thing. So I put that in there, and every time I do, I stab myself. Okay, then it says on the piece of paper to create a loop and hook it onto the little, little pushy outy thing, which I've done. That little hook that pops out when you push on the yellow thing. And then it will go back in when you let go. And then you are supposed to be able to pull this, and then your needle is threaded. And I've had about a 70% success rate getting the needle to thread. But I think it's probably my fault. I mean, I don't know if you could see that, but it actually did thread this needle. The rest of the instructions are to insert the needle into the hole, which we did, press the middle part like the picture shown until the little hook protrude. So there is no picture, by the way. I looked all over the place. So this is it right here. Okay. Hitch the sewing thread on the hook. I copied and pasted this. Unpress the middle part, or release. Pull out the needle and the sewing thread ran through. And package included 5 times automatic needle threader. And we don't offer a choice of color, you just get whatever we decide to send you. And they're basically all the same 3 colors, but they're put together differently. Now, as far as this goes, I have no idea how to use it. I've tried several different ways. There is a hole right on the top of the pink thing that doesn't line up with anything. I don't know why it's there. So, and I honestly have no idea how to use this part. As you can see, there's a channel and a hook right there. So the only part that works for me is put the needle in this, hitch the thread over that, release, and then my needle will be threaded. So there are several things about this that I don't understand, and there were no photos. So the fact that they even suggest that there were photos and then there were no photos was kind of irritating. -1 star. But I think I will give them 4 because they are plastic. There are 5. They actually do thread a needle. They are somewhat useful for somebody with quote unquote dim eyes. I don't think it would be easy for a person who has never used a needle threader to figure out. So to review, there were 5 in the package and it was advertised as having 5. So I will give it 1 dandelion for that. It does actually thread the needle, so I will give it 1 dandelion for that. It isn't too difficult to figure it out, even though it states that there is a photo, there is not a photo. So when you get the product, if you expect to see a photo, there is not a photo, but you can still figure it out. But I think that it would be difficult for a young person, and this has been advertised as being easy for young and old. Now, I am going to have to say that I'm going to take away 1 dandelion because it would be very difficult if you truly did have dim eyesight. The little hook is not easy to find. I mean, I was kind of squinting when I had to locate it the first time. So I'm going to have to say no for that. It has a good price. The value is for what you get. So I will give it a dandelion for that. I really want to give it, I mean, it feels sturdy. I don't think it's going to fall apart. So I'm going to give it 1 more dandelion. So out of 5, I'm going to give it 4 dandelions. But that's basically it. So for our random review number 1, needle threading device, or 5-piece needle threading device. It was $7.99 for 5. I will definitely use one. I'm going to keep it in my sewing room. I'm going to give one to my youngest daughter, one to my oldest daughter, because they both sew, and I'm really curious to know what they think. And then I will have 2 left over, and I'm going to start a random review bag, I guess. And at the end of a few months, I will go through, pick out a few items, and we'll have a drawing. Okay, so I'm sorry that the first video was, I don't know, ghosted away from me. I'm not real sure what happened. It shouldn't have been. I mean, everything was working exactly the same way that it was today, so I'm a little bit confused by that. But anyway, I will go ahead and tack this on to the other video, and I'll see you in a little bit. Okay guys, so a whole day and a whole night and a whole half of another day. Today is the 11th of January 2021. Have passed since I did this stitching yesterday. And there's a couple things I want to talk about regarding the stitching. Number 1 is it washed up quite well. I don't see any issues with the needle thread. There's not any puckering. However, apparently my bobbin thread is too tight. The tension on the bobbin is too tight, because the bobbin thread is this color. Right here. But if you look, all we can really see is this color, and that means that it's being pulled through the fabric. So I need to loosen the bobbin. Aside from that, I'm not seeing any issues with how this is being stitched. And I'm going to turn it the way it would normally be turned. And we'll take a look at the seam, which I think looks really good. And this is the right side of the fabric. I have not pressed it. And of course that seam allowance is huge. But aside from those issues, I feel very confident that stitching with satin fabric is just as easy as stitching with a cotton woven, if that's what you're used to, but you want to try something soft and silky like a satin. Okay, I'm going to turn this light this way just a bit. It is too bright. I'll show this one more time. I think that's better lighting. It's a very gray, rainy day in the Pacific Northwest. It's about a quarter after 11 in the morning, and it actually looks like it's like about 4:30 in the afternoon. So that's why I have this extra light on. Okay, so there's a couple things I want to talk about. We will be doing that feature, random reviews. I kind of enjoyed the one that I did yesterday with the needle threading device. And as we go forward, I will be looking for ideas from you, as well as kind of researching my own. There are some things that I have here in my possession already that I'm going to add into that rotation, because as the name implies, it's random. And some of the ideas will be for things that are specific to sewing and creating in a sewing room. And some of those will be items that are not intended as a sewing notion, but somehow or other they have become part of the sewing, arena. My favorite example is the friction pen. It works great for sewing people for many different reasons, but it was never meant to be used on fabric. That's not why it was created. So that's one. And there are just a plethora of other things like that we use in the sewing room that were not specifically designed to be used in the sewing room. All right, so the next thing today, we are working on the skirt right here. And if you're just joining us, welcome. Please consider subscribing. And today we're finishing up the 7526 skirt. The idea that I've got for this skirt won't be finished today, but this potentially will be. There are going to be 2 parts to this skirt, and I don't know if I'll be able to get to the second part. You never know. I'm not going to say I'm not going to. I'm just going to say possibly not. So this is the pattern that I'm using. The pattern was purchased to make that view C. And I did create a mock-up for the purpose of making this skirt right here as you see it. We used a vintage corduroy fabric. I'll show you what it looked like. This fabric has a kind of interesting story in and of itself, but anyway, so there is an entire mock-up made from Kona cotton that fits my daughter, and I'm using this mock-up, not the pattern included with the pattern here, but the mock-up that I made from this to create a satin long skirt. So it will be this look, only longer, and I'm using the mock-up to get the measurements. Even though it's a shorter skirt, I just cut it longer and a little bit wider at the bottom. Okay, so this right here is the fabric that I had initially purchased at an estate sale in Everett, Washington about 5 years ago. And it was something that, it was like I think maybe 2 yards of fabric, or maybe 1 7/8 of a yard. It was just kind of like a really skimpy 2 yards of fabric. But I loved it and I had to have it, and it was 50 cents. But it is a true vintage fabric. It was in a trunk in a elderly woman's home, and her daughters and her nieces were having the sale. I will tell you that she had not passed away, but she had been put into a care home due to her age and the fear that she would, fall and hurt herself. She lived alone. So they were kind of selling some of the items that she had kept, and being a seamstress, she had sewing machines and the fabrics and notions, and I bought a brother sewing machine that I still have, and this fabric, and I think there was a beautifully embroidered tablecloth that I may still have. But anyway, so my daughter Jessica she saw this fabric and fell in love with it, and I was trying to figure out what I could make for her using just that amount of fabric. So Knowing that I might need more, I went to Etsy and looked, and lo and behold, I found this. Well, this clearly is not vintage. It is a reproduction of this. And if you look closely, you'll see it is exactly the same print. It has the little tiny dots, it has the daisies, and it has the background. Unfortunately, this was the one that Jessica fell in love with, and this was just too bright and clear. So here's the two side by side. You can definitely see that there is a world of difference. So anyway, as it turned out, this McCall's pattern number 7526 view C only required a small amount of fabric, and I had plenty, and I have this left over. So it's crazy, and she loves it and it fits her, and I know that she's wearing it. So anyway, that's the story of that. And we decided to make a longer version of that skirt in a more formal fabric. So far I have got the two side seams stitched together and all of the darts made. Okay, so basically what I need to do next is I'm going to flat line the two pieces of fabric that I have cut out for the waistband. I want to treat them as one. So I'm going to just simply stitch as close to this edge as I can and just kind of create one piece of fabric by stitching all the way around close to the edge, and we'll see how that works. If I don't like it, I have lots of leftover fabric and I can just do something different. I had kind of thought about using a spray adhesive to attach the two, but that just seems kind of cheesy to me for this skirt. So, and if I run out of thread, I've decided I'll just have to go purchase some new thread. I can't continue to squeak by. I'm going to have to just have to go get some. Alright, so I'm going to lengthen my stitch to about 3, and then I'm also going to loosen the tension on my bobbin. And to do that, first I'm going to check it. Yeah, it's not moving when I bounce it up and down, which means it's a little tight. And there's this little screw right here. So I can probably just use my fingernail and lefty loosey it. I may have to use something not my fingernail. Don't do this at home, kids. Okay, there. We've loosened it a little bit. Let's just see what happens next. Okay, now it's sliding down the thread. Okay, while I have that piece of fabric, where'd it go? Well, I'll just use this one. This is the other piece that I washed to check it. So I'm going to see what the bobbin stitches look like. Alright, I have my machine set for needle down, and the needle stitch length is set at 3. That definitely looks better to me. I mean, I'm still seeing a little bit of a loop, and I can feel it on the back. However, it does look, yeah, it definitely looks much better. The tension isn't as tight as it was. All right, I'm also going to open this and check it. That looks good. Okay. All right, so now I'm just going to flatline these two pieces of fabric together. And I recommend, if you're doing this, that you stitch very slowly. It's just so much easier. Satin is slippery and it tends to want to slide off of itself. Okay, so it has been flatlined, and of course what I did is I flatlined it so that the two wrong sides were together and the two right sides are out. And that way, whatever I do, if I end up folding it this way, then I'll still have a right side of the fabric, and if I end up folding it the opposite direction, I'll still have a right side of the fabric showing. So there are a lot of whiskers that I'm going to have to get rid of. I need to find out when those pinking shears will arrive. And at that time, I will go ahead and trim on the waistband. I really don't want to do a zigzag stitch. I just think, for one thing, on a waistband, that's a lot of thread, and I don't think I want to do that. So I'm going to wait to do this tomorrow, and I think that's the best thing that I can do under the circumstances. I will not be wasting thread, and I will not be wasting time. Thank you so much for joining me. If you liked this video, please hit the thumbs up. If you haven't already subscribed, please consider doing so, and I will see you in the next one. Thanks again. Bye.